It's that series about the series again, the one with the 200 TDI in it. I've renamed it. It's no longer Project Silicon. It's Project Unbodge. Enjoy. Well, as you can see, the dash is all going in. There's a couple of odds and sods I still need to sort out. The dash covering was trimmed by the owner. It's done a nice job. It's quite smart. I quite like it. Looks very smart. It's different to the usual kind of shambles that the Series dash looks like or look in. Now, you'll notice, the more observant of you, that the wiper motor's out again. Fucking thing's haunted. I probably need to rephrase that, Richard. The fucking thing is possessed. Sorry about that, folks. Too many Fs. Yeah, basically I couldn't get it to work properly. It would park sometimes, not park all the time. And I'm thinking, oh, maybe it's the switch. And then I was messing around with the unobtainium 2-speed wiper switch. So I think when these things first came out, they came out with a single-speed wiper. And as production moved on, I'm not sure when the 2-speed wiper came in. But basically the 2-speed wiper motor itself is pretty much an MGB part. It's fairly standard Lucas wiper motor that bolts straight in. But the switch, kind of, you push it for the washer and you turn it twice for the low speed and the high speed. Now, high speed's not working, low speed is working, but if I short the motor out, it does work. So I'm thinking, well, maybe the switch. No, not the switch. And then put it all back together again and it works. And you think, holy fuck, what happened? What happened? What did I do? And then it stops working again. Oh, God. So then I started rumbling through all the boxes of parts that came with the car. We've got the mother of all kind of Chinesium single-speed switches. We've got a very, very, very complex and expensive-looking 3-speed wiper switch. Now, I managed to get this sort of working. This is the last time I managed to get everything working. So the park, the wash, and the low and the high speed were all working on this switch, but it's got 3 positions. So one of the positions just leaves the wipers parked in the middle of the screen. So I thought, right, okay, it's less than perfect, but it will do. Then I found that this switch, when I found the motor was the problem, I then found that this switch works on the 2 speeds, but the washer wasn't working, which is why the washer plunger on the end of this is missing, because I took the Chinesium washer push switch off this one, put it onto the OE, used old stock, 2-speed switch, and there we go, rebuilt that. Oh yes. This chap here, that's for the low fuel warning, which is specific to diesels. We're probably just going to get standard plugs and push them back in there, but we're not going to leave them active because the owner wants something a little bit more kind of less contemporary, more 21st century. So rather than going for the 2 accessory ports over there, we've got this little panel here with the USB slots and the cigarette lighters, because you'd have cigarettes rather than cigars in a Series 3, I'm afraid. And then on this face of it, which faces the driver, I'm going to punch a hole through it for the brain's not working, fog light, which is down here. So this is all the fog light wiring. Interestingly, the loom came with radio wiring. I can only assume that you want the radio working when the engine's not. I can't think of any instance in any Series 3 where you can actually listen to the, pardon me, radio. I do like these door tops, by the way. These are Wolf nipple tips. Get them while they're lovely. They're Wolf door tops. You can get them from various suppliers. You can get them in their OE spec, but I just like the way that both glasses slide, and you get a lot of elbow room here. But also you get the demist function. Nice, huh? So yes, I like those. And there's one big lock on the inside. So shut the window, and then locked. Nice. That's not shutting properly because the cable's hanging at the bottom. Now, owner also managed to source some used old stock front stub axles. I probably didn't make it very clear in the last video how bad this fella is. So let me see if I can zoom in on it. You can see where that's been absolutely mullered all the way around. So I'm going to have a chat with my engineer friend. He will probably be able to turn this edge down on a lathe and then put a sleeve over the top of it to rejuvenate it. I don't know, but there's a couple of others coming from the customer He's managed to source those. He actually quite likes source. He's very, very useful. He's going to be my new parts buyer. He's my new parts buyer, sourcing all the parts and bits and bobs for me. That's where the cable's laying on the side of the car. The other thing, right, so wiper motor. These things are dead easy to get off. So basically you undo the big nut at the top here where the cable holds in, you undo the 4 screws, the cover comes off, you pull the little clip out to take the cam off the thing, and then the cam and the wiper motor, sorry, the wiper cable just all stay there. That's all just there waiting patiently for me with all the bits down there. And then I bench tested it because you've got the plug on the back here with 5 pins on it. One's low speed, one's high speed, one's constant voltage and park. Okay, so then I kind of like fiddled and faffed around with that, realised that these cables are really very, very, very floppy. So I was thinking, right, okay, well, let's get the motor apart and see what's going on. Undo these 2 bolts, pull the armature away from the motor. Yeah, the brushes are fucked, aren't they? Properly. I think the yellow one is the park. So I've ordered a new brush plate. Again, they're fairly commonly available, and they're quite affordable. Normally I'd faff around replacing the brushes, but I think as the whole plate was available for less than 20 quid, I'll head down that route. And the plate comes with all the wires attached to it that you just plug straight onto the back. And this big white chunk here, that's the park switch. So there's the park plunger on the back there. So yes, I think is the answer there. That's wipers on their way. Yeah, the other thing that the customer's going to bring on Friday this week, he's got a scrap B suffix Range Rover, and he's going to rip one of the diffs out, probably the back diff, because I just think this one, while the crown and pinion are serviceable, they are absolutely festering with bits, swaths of metal, which I end up every time I do that, I end up with a bit stuck in the end of my finger. Which is rather stupid, Richard, isn't it? But yeah, there's so much swarf in this thing, it needs a deep cleanse before it goes back together again. So if I can get another diff, let's just put another diff in it, be done with it. And then, all the brakes and everything can go back on. I can bleed the brakes and it can go on to its new wheels. Oh yes. Well, that's what we want. Isn't it? It is. And then the other thing that the owners managed to find is a complete kit, because this is a disco version of the 200 TDI, has been confirmed by a specialist. I thought it wasn't a Range Rover version because it didn't look like the engine that was in Southport, but mainly because of the orientation of the turbo, the positioning of the alternator, etc, etc. Anyway, got a new radiator to go in, which is over there in a box. The customer bought that, and also he's then bought a kit for the intercooler, the air filter, and all of the pipe work which fits up to the standard disco turbo, etc, etc, etc. And we could do away with blue pipework of chavness and intercooler of truckness. I don't know where you're going with this, Richard. I really don't know. Yeah, it'll look a lot tidier, I think. I think the idea is to get rid of all this fucking blue pipework. It's awful. I don't like it. It just doesn't suit the car. The car's green. Why would you want this colour blue pipework all over it? I mean, in fairness to whoever put the blue pipework on it, this was probably done 7, 8, 9 years ago. And at that time, maybe the silicone hoses weren't available in the black that they are now. But really, I mean, honestly, you don't have to go fucking berserk with it. And then I was thinking last night, what's been the biggest cock up on this project that I've identified so far? Well, loose bolts, brake pipes, 8mm stud in the fuse position which burnt the wiring loom out. Diff. It's got to be the brake pipes. I mean, that's everything else is just kind of stupid. Brake pipes was dangerous. So no apologies if you're the person who done those brake lights, or you do brake lights like that, but honestly, step away from the brakes. Leave the spanners alone. Yes, lower dash is back out again. Basically, I couldn't get the flaps, the foot flaps, to work properly. The cable was too short to reach to the back of the device over on the passenger side. It lost its outer sheath, And then when I've kind of taken it all apart, everything's kind of fallen off this thing. Yes, so apart from that, it's all going swimmingly really. But then when it comes to the control cable, which needs to go through this plate here, which sits on top of the lower dash, I thought, right, okay, what am I going to do here? So, Richard's recommendation of the day, let's mount up. Hello. When you bought your cheap nasty brick part $2.99 throttle cable for any V8, and the end came off it like that, don't chuck it out, hang on to it. And the end's going to come off this one as well, see? These things, they're made out of cheese, these things. I could probably break that with my fingers. I'm bending it with my fingers. That's how soft they are. So the outer sheath, I've basically fixed through the back plate and used the nut on the other side. I'm then going to chop this end off it because I don't need it. Feed the cable back in, attach the end of the cable directly onto the little ferrule in here. Chop this off because it's just going to be utterly fucking useless. In fact, look, it's strands of wire hanging out the end of it there. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful design, this thing. Really is. Just wonderful. It couldn't have been nicer, really, if it had tried. And then I've got a reasonable, certainly a longer control cable than this one, which I can trim to length. And I've got the outer sheath as well. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? And all for the cost of a cheap, nasty brick part, not fit for purpose, throttle cable. Yay! Which broke. Yay! All I need to do now is to recover the costs of going all the way over to East London to swap it out when the fucking thing broke again. So I'm going to use Mr. Dremel. Oh, hello, Mr. Dremel. Yes, very nice. Just going to really just cut through. Come on, you fuck. Let's get on the bench like this. So I can't actually get up to where the... There we are. Tell you what, the outer sheath on this thing is tougher than the ferrule on the end. Took some effort to cut through that, as you heard. Right, now we've done that, we'll feed the cable back down the inside of the sheath. There's the cable, there's the sheath, there's the cable. There it goes. It's dry as a witch's tit, this thing as well, which makes me laugh. Absolutely bone dry. And then I've got the flaps, which I'm going to take off here while I fit it. How should I get them in there? Like that. So there's the flap. There's the little ferrule thing that goes in it. So we're going to find a small socket. But basically, when it's all together, he hastily moves on. That can then screw on back onto there. Let's screw this whole piece back on and into place. There we are. And then the lower dash can go back and into the car. And I've got the control cable, as you can see. Better than the original. But, I'll tell you one thing. This has gone on the wrong way round. And I know it's gone on the wrong way round because although we've got this cut out here, which is for the pod, there's the hole over there. So I've got two holes. Just a cotton picking minute. And now this goes up here. And yes, the vents look like they're in the right places now. And there's my control cable. And it's plastic sheath, so it's not going to short out against all the electrics behind the dash. I've got no idea why that's been cut out like that. It's not upside down, is it? No, because if it was upside down, that would be too close to here. It wouldn't work. This works. Now, we are having a bit of a battle with the clutch hydraulics. Hydraulics. So, in a nutshell, what was happening was the clutch was being, well, clutch had been bled by the current owner. And he was only getting half the pedal travel on the clutch pedal before it became rock solid. So he fitted a new master cylinder. I got exactly the same situation. So I undid the bleed nipple on the slave, and the clutch pedal goes right to the floor. Great. Okay, so that would indicate that the problem's not with the master, or with the push rod in the master, but more likely to be down at the slave end. So then I've kind of had some fun and games taking the slave off, and it is seized solid. I'm not quite sure how it's seized solid at the end of the shaft like that, but basically it was, as I started undoing the bolts, there was some force coming from the release arm inside the, if we go back to the parts manual, we've got the release arm that sits on the release bearing, and the push rod is attached onto the release arm, and as I was undoing the top bolt on the slave was being pushed away from the bell housing. So, haven't got this piece in there as far as I can see. I'll double check it, just the spacer piece. I'll double check that. Let me write that down. Clutch slave, clutch. So if I don't write these things down, spacer, and then the next thing I started looking at the transmission, because I know I've misled a whole load of you guys by telling you this is an LT95. It's not a fucking LT95. I don't know why I thought it was an LT95. There was some subliminal message that came in somewhere that told me it was LT95. Nor is it LT77. Because I know that some people have very kindly come forward and said, no, it's an LT77. It's 4-speed. And reverses up and next to first, which I believe makes it standard Series 3. I asked the owner, and the owner basically said it's been kind of tricked up. Sorry, there's no light in here at the moment. You can see. Right, so the high-low lever is connected, and that does something. The plunger, however, doesn't really... It does come up higher there, so maybe... I don't know if it's engaging or not. I think the diff lock plunger I'm concerned about. So let's shuffle underneath the car. I shall come back to you when I'm underneath the car. Well, no, you can hear my bones creak. You can actually listen to my bones creaking as I go underneath it. Look, there's the creeper over there. That's really useful. So, yes, it looks to me like completely box standard, apart from the disc brake transmission drum. I've just shuffled on the floor here. Look at all the dust I've kicked up. Completely bog standard. There's the high-low lever. That connects. There it is. Goes all the way through. Connects beautifully. And then the diff lock lever is attached to the front of the diff lock casing. But I really don't know why it's just not selecting anything. So we might end up having to take the transmission cover off, which of course has been installed underneath the floors, and the floors have all been glued in. So this is going to be joyous. Absolutely joyous. Well, I think first and foremost, got to get up now. This is a long way up. He's 6'3". It is a long way up. So, yes, it's the answer to that, I believe. Standard Series 3 transmission. Well, standard. I say standard. Standard casing. Because reverse is definitely right across and up. You Series boys can let me know. It's quite a tight gate on it. Oops. Wants to go straight from third to first. Fourth. Nothing past fourth. There's fourth. Nothing. There's third. Nothing past that. So it's definitely 4-speed. Fairly sure it's a series casing. I don't know if it's been beefed up for the 200 TDI. The owner has said he's got some rumours of some Ashcroft transmission receipts around the transmission. All this work was done prior to him buying it. So I'm going to have to find out what's going on there. But the good news is I believe the clutch issue is down to a seized slave. We can actually go and look at the push rod. Look at the creeper. Makes life just a little bit easier. Yay! 53 years old, I'm getting old this game. Right, so there. You can see the hole. I can get hold of the push rod and I can move the release arm back and forth. And to my mind, that all seems to be perfect. So the fact that the slave is seized would suggest to me that that's the root cause of the non-functioning clutch. Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes indeed. Indeed. Well, the new springy clips came through for the dash. Very nice actually. Fit beautifully. The only problem I had, minor problem I had, let's just adjust you so you can see what on earth is going on. We'll work on this one here. The only minor problem I had on this far one was that the post and the hinge were just a little bit too close together. Now, to put these in, because they are a bit of a faff, I'll be honest, what I tend to do, let's get that over the top and out of the way. So we've got some light on the matter. There we go. Almost organised there, Richard. Now, we got the spring clip. There's a used old stock one. There's the brand spanking new ones. These ones came from P.A. Blanchard. These chaps. P.A. Blanchard and Co. Clay Lane, Shipton Thorpe, York. YO 43 3PU. They've got a phone number on there, look at that, everything. And they provide a lot of ex-military staff and all sorts of other odds and sods. No, that's not the right part number, Richard. Because that says oil seal. It might have been, they just stuck them in that bag. I can't remember the part number. I shall put it in the comments down below. But, there we go. Oh, I might have it here, in fact. Let's waste some time, Richard. Let's see if we can flap around. The only reason is that I couldn't find the part number in the standard parts manual, by the way, was because heater is optional equipment. There you go. And this falls under heater. So what I tend to do is to position the clip underneath the dash component at an angle, use the pivot point as a lever to bend the clip down and twist it around. It's as easy as that. You'll wrestle with them otherwise. That's the easiest way of putting them in there. And now, when I pull on the nice satisfying clunk as it opens the footwell vents and then closes them again. So, having done that, I can now, with great pleasure, screw this top back down again. So this can actually screw on now, and then I can install the whole of the lower dash section intact into the car. I'm just using normal self-tappers to put this thing in. Let's get it underneath the flap properly. There we are. Beautiful. Just fucking beautiful. There you go. And that's the flap sorted out. And then obviously when I pull on the cable now, which is here, it works. How about that? Huh? How about that? Right, I'm not going to video too much more of this because it's just boring content for me to edit out when I finish this. I'm just literally going to screw this piece back in again. I think what's happened is at some point this has been the wrong way round. Someone's cut this out, really, to go around the gauge, which is why I had it the wrong way round in the first place. They've also cut holes through up here. So I don't know what's been going on there, but yeah, someone installed this plate the wrong way round and then cut it. Marvellous. Unless someone knows why that cutout is there. Someone help me? Series boys? There we are, it's all done. Look, pull cable. Oops. Pull cable, get finger impaled on cheap shitty fucking crimp. Nice, eh? And then basically what I do is I'll feed this around to the back of the heater controls, which goes over here. Trim it to length. And fucked brick part, speedo cable, reutilised as Series 3 foot vent jobby. There you go, that can go back in. Okay, Land Rover shenanigans. So you're aware of the situation we've got with these front hubs, these post 80, it's 1982 car, whatever you want to call that, sanction whatever of the Series 3. And you know that the original front stub axle on the passenger side had been beaten mercilessly. So I was going to talk to the engineer, but then the owner found a complete set on eBay. That one is no good at all, because basically whatever's happened here is the seal has worn a groove through the chrome coating on that one. So that one is a candidate possibly for a sleeve. So the idea was I was going to talk to the machine shop about machining that face down there and putting a stainless sleeve over the top of it for the oil seal to seat against. This one is serviceable, so I'm going to put this one on the car. Just need to replace the seals or back plates already assembled, and it can go straight on. Bad luck, folks. Another diff, and I don't need to rebuild it. I will do one of these. In fact, I'll probably end up doing that one over there. That's the diff that came out of the axle. Stripped down in a million bits at the moment over there in the pile of stuff that I need to do. So the customer sourced a used old stock diff, and it's in very, very good order. It's clean, it's tidy, the bearings are good. I've put some engineer blue on the teeth. It's quite difficult to see because the light's not perfect, but basically what you're looking for is on the drive side, you're looking for a nice dash right the way through the middle of the tooth, and on the coast side, you want a nice dash right the way through the middle of the tooth. And if you've got dashes to one side or the other, then there's all sorts of different things you need to do with regards to the depth of the pinion gear, which is a bull's eight to get to, and the backlash, which you adjust using these big rings up here. So yeah, feels all right actually. I've been over it, and I'm happy enough with it. So that, I'm just going to lob it straight in. So then the other thing I need to do, after I've done the backlash, confirmed that that is all right, it's going to go straight in, is just cleaning this thing through. So yeah, just loads of... The problem with EP80, EP8090 and EP90 is it is as sticky as you know what. Yes, so I'm just going through at the moment, just spraying the degreaser in there, running cloth through it, working with the short tube at the top really. There you go. And I bought a whole new load of diff plugs as well because the magnetic one that's on the back there has got no way of tightening itself up. Then I can clean up the mating face, put the diff in there, get this back on the car. Oh yes. Messing around with the intercooler and the radiator arrangement, and my customer has very kindly bought a whole ton of stuff from Steve Parker's, and these guys specialise in all manner of upgrades and conversions, but this one specifically is around Series 2, 2A and 3 intercooler and radiator environment. So there's a modified 200 TDI intercooler, modified in that they've moved the stub from there to there and reverse the flow on it as well. And then there's a 200 TDI radiator, electric fan. And it's all very, very, very complete. And I'm kind of, it's like a giant Meccano set. Lots of instructions to follow. Lots of bits and bobs kind of need to happen. Modifications to turbos and so forth. But bearing in mind this thing already had a truck intercooler fitted, I thought, well, do you know what, let's give it a go. And then, fuck's sake, fortunately these things are easy to cut off. The problem I've got is the turbo is so insanely tight in here that you can see that I can get so the light's not pointing in your face. 1 second, come here lights, Mighty McLight face, there we are, that's better. So you can see that this upright here has been modified with this big piece of steel here, to move it outwards, outboard, so it then fits the turbo. And there's also a recess in the footwell there to accommodate the turbo. Not inclined to change any of that, but obviously when I'm starting to fit pipes or even just remove the old bloody pipes, it was a nightmare. So I couldn't actually get the old pipes off without taking the rear wing off, sorry, taking the front wing off, which is off now. And because nothing on this car has been easy so far, can you spot what's been removed? Yeah. the more knowledgeable of you 200 TDI chaps out there, chaps and chapesses, will have already noted it wasn't a Disco 200 TDI turbo that was on it, because the exhaust was coming out of the wrong end. I don't know what turbo it is. As you've already seen on the video, the problem I've got is that the alternator is far too close to the exhaust. The kit that I've bought from Steve Parker's, it could work with the turbo that's on it, but at the end of the day, the customer's basically said, look, he wants this thing how it should be. I said, well, we'll put a 2 1/4 diesel back in it then. No. He wants it with a 200 TDI manifold and so forth. So I said, right, let's get it stripped down, because this exhaust, although it's good, it's a bit all over the place. So this whole exhaust system is going to come off. And really, what have I got? Alternator, nice little AC Delco jobby. This turbo, I've got no idea what it is. Can anyone give me any feedback? It says Garrett on it. There's nothing on the tag at all. Doesn't quite look like the Garrett that's been stamped on other turbos. The exhaust side of it, again, nothing really on it. There's another plate on this thing. Where are we? Brain's not working. There's one plate there. There was another plate somewhere I was looking. So basically we've got some of the markings on here. Let's go to here. Right, so we've got the AR 0.64 on the exhaust side, and the AR looks like 5.2 on the inlet side. I'm not really getting much more out of it than that. So I don't know. Oh, what's that there? What is that? That's a first. Right, so BE 475-A. Right, I'll take a picture of that in a second, because that'll probably be what I'm looking for here. Bastard thing. Turbo's the wrong thing for it. The exhaust manifold is a 200 TDI item. I found the part number on it. It is listed here. It's HRC 2100 for that piece, HRC 2101 for this piece, and when you do that, it comes back as 200 TDI. Naturally, all the bolts were loose. The other cock-up I've got on this is that a ham-fisted gibbon has been in here, so you can see the studs are all loose. They've all been drilled through. They've been welded. It's a fucking shambles. So I think what we're going to end up doing is just getting a 200 TDI turbo and exhaust manifold and bolting it together. But before then, I just wanted to have a quick chat with Steve Parker's to find out, while we're at this stage, is there an easier way of doing this? Because this exhaust isn't right. It's too close to the starter, it's too close to the alternator, it's too close to the engine mounts, it's too close to everything. The turbo's wrong. Probably a very, very nice turbo, I don't doubt it. But you know, we've got this far, and the customer sort of like said, well, okay, let's do it proper. Let's put the proper 200 TDI Disco features on it. I've not even heard this engine run yet. The reason for the oil leak here, by the way, was because the oil return pipe from the turbo, the clip was there, but as you can see, it wasn't actually attached to the base of the turbo. Well, it was, but as you can see, that clip is still tight, but I was able to just pull the turbo away from it. So I don't think the clip was on the return stub properly. This return stub is there. And you see it's got like a hose tail on it. I don't think it was pushed on properly, because that's where all the oil was coming from. So that chappy, we need to work out what's going on there. And yeah, it's all a ball's ache really, to be quite honest. I was rather hoping to get this thing sort of like, I wanted to get all the rad and everything in it today, and again been balks. It happens. It's what happens with working with, you know, 40-year-old cars that have been modified at some point.